morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, August 2nd, 2012. It's going to be another hot day in the northeastern United States. Over Washington, D.C. yesterday, a tragedy of amazing proportions almost occurred. 3 U.S. air jets nearly collided in the sky over Reagan National Airport, right there on the Potomac River opposite Haines Point, right in metropolitan Washington, D.C. Apparently there was a little bit of a mishap. They had a wind shift because of the weather, obviously, and planes, rather than taking off to the north, were switched to land from the north. That information was relayed from Washington Air Traffic Control Headquarters in Warrenton, Virginia, to the National Airport Control Tower, but apparently somebody did not pass that information all the way down the line. As a result, an incoming U.S. air jet that was coming in to land at National was coming in on a runway from which 2 U.S. air jets had just taken off, and they were almost ready to hit each other. They were 12 seconds away from impact until somebody in the control tower recognized the problem and immediately diverted all 3 planes. The cockpit audio chatter is quite revealing. The pilot's asking, why did we have to make that sudden turn? A total of 192 passengers were involved on the 3 planes. Everybody arrived at their destination safely. Obviously, an investigation is occurring. Yesterday, 220 more counties in the United States were added to the U.S. government's list of natural disaster areas as a result of the big drought. This now means that half of all American counties, 1,584 now on this list in 32 states, are now being eligible for natural disaster relief. Also, the U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack said that crop insurers have agreed to provide farmers facing cash flow issues a penalty-free 30-day grace period on premiums. So that might help a little bit. Earlier this morning in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the eastern part of the city out on the Arkansas River, there was an explosion at a refinery, an oil refinery. It could be seen from miles away. Apparently a refinery owned by Holly Frontier Corporation that has a daily crude capacity of about 125,000 barrels a day exploded, and a fire ensued. The fire began in the diesel hydrotreater unit at its Tulsa East refinery. No injuries have been reported. The damage is yet unknown, but apparently it was a big blast. The Hartford up in Connecticut released its numbers. They reported a loss of $101 million for Q2 and a small loss of $5 million for the first half, but adjusted profit for the periods were strong. Core earnings were up to $119 million, up from $14 million for the last year. This is up for the quarter, and the corresponding gain for the full 6 months was $731 million, up from $588 million. In the second quarter, the property and casualty combined ratio, excluding catastrophes and prior year development, worsened to 94.5% from 93%. They also had to dump in another $32 million into their reserves for ground-up studies of asbestos and environmental issues. There'll be more on that. They're a huge company. It always takes a while to sift through the numbers. Also, Willis, the number 3 broker, disappointed analysts as it reported top-line performance that was dragged down by its North American segment. The broker disappointed Wall Street forecasts as it booked net income from continuing operations for the second quarter of $107 million, was up from $84 million from the prior year. But geographically, the North American segment saw commissions and fees down by 4%, with the operating margin declining to 15.2% from 18.6% the prior year. So that's a 6% or 3% drop, 3.5% drop in North American operating profit. Generali, the big Italian insurer in Trieste, reported a 4.5% increase in first half profits. Growth offset higher claims from a pair of earthquakes in northern Italy. The new CEO, Mario Greco, has told people that he aims to make Italy's largest insurer a European leader. Generali had 12 months of very poor performance, so that performance for the quarter is good, but it doesn't necessarily mean too much. The Bermuda Stock Exchange has passed a big mark. They've just hit the $5 billion mark in insurance-linked securities listings. They obtained a new listing of a $300 million cat bond from the California Earthquake Authority. The The capital will provide reinsurance coverage for California earthquakes. It's the third cat bond deal the Earthquake Authority has brought to the BLS, or the BSX, I should say. The latest issuance now brings the number of insurance-linked securities listed on the stock exchange to 27 with a value of $5 billion. Greg Wojciechowski and his team there are intent on making the BSX a leader in this, and they're doing a good job. For the final story, you might have noticed that American Defense Secretary Leon Panetta has been navigating around the Middle East, popping up in Israel earlier this week. Well, the former Mossad chief, who is the CIA equivalent over there, Ephraim Halevi, was quoted in the New York Times this morning as saying that if he were an Iranian, he would be very fearful in the next 12 weeks. He told Israel Radio that Iranians continued to play games in nuclear talks with world powers, and if they did so, they'd be underestimating Israel's resolve. He said the Iranians' math is off if they think they have open-ended immunity. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said earlier this week that Israel has not decided whether to strike Iran. Well, if you think oil prices have moved up and down with great fluctuation lately, if that happens, it's going to be a completely different ballgame. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you and see you tomorrow.